Week 6 of the NHL season was a doozy, with some big injuries, potential coaching changes, and shocking results dotted throughout the week, but how has that affected our power rankings? Alright, so let's start off in the ass tier as we always do, with the teams that just suck the most in the NHL. No surprise to any of these 5 fan bases. We have in descending order the Montreal Canadiens, Anaheim Ducks, Columbus Blue Jackets, San Jose Sharks, and Chicago Blackhawks. Congratulations, Sharks, you're no longer the worst, because you, unlike the Blackhawks, actually managed to win a game this week. Sure, it's against the Red Wings, and that's not impressive at all, but it is at least something. Now, right above these teams in their own tiers, still the pathetic Nashville Predators. Don't have to expand much more on them. They're 4 games under 500. They did manage to beat the Canucks on Sunday, which is, I guess, a step in the right direction if you're delusional and think that this team is in any way close to turning a corner. Above the Predators, we have 4 teams in the bad tier: the Flyers, Red Wings, Flames, and Penguins. The Red Wings were undoubtedly the team that had the worst week, going 1-3 in their games. Their only win, an overtime victory over the Penguins. They then proceeded to lose to both the Ducks and the Sharks in overtime, as well as the LA Kings. The Red Wings are currently 2 games under 500, and they have the 3rd worst expected goal differential in the NHL. They're only ahead of the Sharks and the Blackhawks, so they're even worse than their record suggests. Above them, we have the bear down tier, which is just the Boston Bruins, who, as I'm recording, fired their head coach Jim Montgomery. It was a bad week for the Bees, as they lost 3 games in a row, including a 7-2 drubbing by the Dallas Stars, and most recently a 5-1 beat down by the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Bruins are now 8-9-3 halfway through November, which is not at all where they were expected to be. Even those who were most pessimistic in Beantown thought the Bruins were still a playoff contender. Now they're clawing to stay relevant, and it's going to take a big turnaround if the Bruins want to get back to the dominance that they're so accustomed to. Then we have the mid-tier, which includes the Utah Hockey Club, St. Louis Blues, Buffalo Sabres, Seattle Kraken, New York Islanders, LA Kings, and Ottawa Senators. Rough one for the Blues, who dropped a bit from their standing last week. They dropped 3 out of 4, the only win coming against those dysfunctional Boston Bruins, and they have not scored more than 3 goals in a game since the 2nd of November against Toronto. This team desperately needs an injection of offense, and luckily they're going to be getting it with Robert Thomas coming back into the lineup from injury, but my goodness, is this team's forward depth absolutely atrocious. Above them, I got 2 teams in the solid tier, the Canucks and the Golden Knights. I think both of these teams are very easily going to make the playoffs. They'll probably be some of the better teams in the West, but I don't know if I believe in them to make a deep playoff run. For the Canucks, I think that could change if and when Thatcher Demko ever comes back, but for now, I think goaltending is a big issue for them. For the Golden Knights, I think whenever they do some cap gymnastics to get their full team and somehow trade for like Evgeny Malkin at the deadline, they might be true threat to go to the Stanley Cup, but for right now, I think they're both very solid teams. Minnesota, I still have in the overrated tier. Nothing they did last week has really dissuaded me of that opinion. They shut out Montreal, but who cares? Anybody can do that. And then they lost to Dallas 2-1. Neither game is very meaningful in my opinion, and I'm going to be interested to see how they fare when they face Edmonton and Winnipeg next week. And then I never stop believing, boys, the Oilers and the Avalanche are both flying up the rankings after shaking off those early season doldrums. Colorado now back over 500 after last week going 2-1, and they've now won 5 of their last 7 games. The Oilers stumbled a little bit last week. They went 2-1-1, including getting shut out by the Montreal Canadiens, but they are still a game above 500. But I have high hopes that both of these teams, with the talent that they have, and as Colorado gets healthier, will continue to improve over the course of the season. Then we have the Contenders tier, which has the Washington Capitals joining it, along with the Florida Panthers, New Jersey Devils, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Toronto Maple Leafs. The Caps, of course, on a massive heater. They did lose to Toronto in overtime last week, but then they rattled off 3 straight wins in which they scored at least 5 goals and allowed 2 or fewer goals. Of course, the downside is that Alex Ovechkin went down with a lower leg injury and is now week to week. I am praying for a speedy recovery, because the fact that he is leading the league in goals for right now at age 39 is nothing short of a miracle, and I really wanted to have the chance to rub it into everybody's face who doubted him. Above them, in the elite tier, we have just 3 teams. The Carolina Hurricanes, the biggest improvers of the week, along with the New York Rangers and the Dallas Stars. I thought Carolina was going to be good this year, but they are maybe even better than I thought they were. They only went 2-1 last week, but those 2 games they won by a combined score of 8-1. Everything just seems to be clicking right now. Marty Necas is an absolute machine, and this team is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender in my opinion. And then, last but not least, the only team remaining is in a tier all of themselves. The Winnipeg Jets are just plain juggernauts. Yes, they did lose to the Florida Panthers, and Panthers fans got their shots in saying that they're overrated. The Jets are not overrated. They're the best team in the NHL right now, and it's not considerably close. And they're going to have a chance to bounce back from their loss and take revenge on Florida later tonight.